Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. This episode of Slam the Gavel is sponsored by CPS Protect Consulting Services. A child protective services case is one of the most frightening experiences for any parent. Don't face it alone. Face it with confidence with Urgent Assist by CPS Protect. You can have access to former CPS investigators to make sure you preserve your rights and protect your family. If you're facing CPS involvement and aren't sure where to turn, their child welfare consultants can help you. Visit cpsprotect.com/subscribe and enter the coupon code Slam the Gavel for 60% off your first year of Urgent Assist. That is available in all 50 states. I have another announcement. Bradley's mother, Narcus Golan, passed away in the fall of 2022. Bradley is autistic and needs structured routine and therapies he receives for his autism 6 days a week. However, Italy just entrusted Bradley to Italian social services. If he is ruled to go back, he will then face the next 3 to 4 years in the Italian foster care system where he can't speak or understand the language. He will then be taken away from the only family he has ever known, and we have Judge Ann Donnelly to thank for that. And please call Governor Hochul at 518-474-8390. That's Governor Hochul, New York State, 518-474-8390 to please keep Bradley here safe in these United States. Hashtag keep Bradley safe. One last announcement. If you can, go to the site, pleasedoyourjob.com. We need 2,500 more signatures to get a case reopened. That's pleasedoyourjob.com. I have a return guest on. I have Alisha Clark Walker on. She has been
Hey,
on my podcast. Hello. She was on my podcast last, can't even talk. Season 4, episode 65 and episode 102. And we're going to talk about James Kelly, who was
yes,
unlawfully imprisoned for
yes,
requesting a custody hearing. Tell me more.
yes, yes. Thank you for having me on. I'm Alicia out of New York, family court advocate, and our good friend and ADA advocate James Kelly, can look him up on Facebook. Cameras in the courtroom, was unlawfully detained, arrested by Judge New York, Suffolk County, Judge Graf out of New York, and was incarcerated for 30 days without bail for trying to record and protect in many different ways a domestic violence victim in New York. It was recording for her safety, and the judge did not like that and threw him in jail for 30 days without any bail. So this is just, and thank you for having me on, but this is just really alarming
It is.
that the judges have these unchecked powers in New York State. Like it's getting out of control, and the public really needs to be aware that
Oh, yeah.
that I this is the third instance I've seen um with incarceration orders, and we'll get into what that means. Contempt incarceration orders. This is the third contempt incarceration order I've seen in a month. And I've seen a lot of them in New York. I've seen them in Vermont, and I've seen them in California, where judges are using contempt orders to incarcerate individuals and advocates for family court reform, whistleblowers, all the likes, people who advocate for their constitutional rights. If they're really abusing their power through
Mhm.
these contempt orders, and we can get into that, what that is, what that means, and how that's structured in New York and in other states too.
I woke up this morning and I thought, gee, can all of us get together and collect monies for his bail? But apparently we can't.
You cannot. So can contempt orders, and let me just kind of go back and explain what that is and what that means. A contempt order is an order by a judge and in this case, and many other different cases that I've seen recently, where the judge can order you to jail however long he wants. And the statute in New York State is usually 90 days maximum. But they're using their power to order individuals just as contempt orders and order them to jail without bail, without a hearing, without
Oh
um
my gosh.
representation, without representation. I mean, right there, that's, what,
That's a human.
14th, 7th,
Oh yeah,
14th Amendment violation,
human rights
and
violation everywhere.
human rights violations. So this Judge Graf ordered James Kelly to jail right then and there, handcuffed him right there, says, "You're in contempt," slam the gavel right then and
Oh,
there, without representation, without a hearing, without bail, without recognizance, without
yeah,
an arraignment.
no
So
accountability, no oversight.
no oversight in New York State. I don't know what it's like in other states, but
Oh,
there's
it's not.
zero accountability.
Yeah,
And this
same
is
here.
why they're getting away with it,
Yeah.
because there's no accountability. For recording a hearing, a custody hearing against a domestic abuse victim, or for a domestic DV victim against an abuser, because he's been known in this particular custody case, been known to, just go off the rails, so like it was for her protection, and it's his Second Amendment right to use this against, this type of government tyranny. So this is a way, these contempt orders with incarceration, this is a way for judges to abuse their power, and go after advocates like myself and James Kelly, who's trying to expose tyranny and judicial abuse in New York State. You can just walk in a courtroom and go to jail and not even have hearing or representation. It's an order, which is just beyond crazy, in my opinion.
And I was also thinking, as it just dawns on me, that I had your story and James Kelly's story in my book that was just released in August, Raised by the
Yeah,
Wolves: How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children.
yeah. So we're both in your book, Raised by These Wolves, chapter 10. I'm not sure what chapter James is, but
Oh,
check it out,
yeah.
Amazon. And so like I was saying, domestic abuse, rapist, and people who assault other people have more rights in New York State than ADA advocates. So in New York State right now, you can go out and beat up an old lady and get an arraignment, right, and get
Mhm.
released on bail and go out and live your life. But if a judge doesn't like you,
Mhm.
then he can order you to contempt right then and there. So it's it's unreal the amount of rights just taken away by New York judges, and just, I don't care if it goes viral or not. I'm going to order you to jail because you tried to record in the courtroom, which most states allow.
Mhm.
But and I've seen just this judicial abuse happen
Mhm.
uh in so many other states as well.
Yeah, these judges are going unchecked. Like I said, no accountability, no oversight. They should just abolish family court. I am so fed up, especially with this, after hearing this last
Yeah,
week.
it's alarming. It's really, really alarming. And it's unclear why there's been so many incarceration contempt orders by these judges. And it seems to be targeted towards um and this is something we can get into too. It seems to be targeted uh against domestic abuse victims, ADA victims and domestic abuse victims. Like, James Kelly was partially there, exercising his constitutional rights, but also trying to protect this DV victim as well. And any person who's man or woman that's been in a domestic violence situation, including, my ex, he never know. Like he get mad, it's like, it's for her own protection. It's not and protection against this judge. From what I understand, I don't know this judge very well, but he has a reputation of tyranny and judicial abuse. And again, with no accountability in New York State, none whatsoever. You can make complaints, and it's goes on deaf ears against this judge, and he could just incarcerate people at a whim whenever he feels like it, with no hearing, no representation, no bail, nothing.
How old is
30 days.
How old is he, do you think?
The judge?
Yeah.
Or James Kelly.
Judge.
The judge is, I believe, retiring age. And I've seen a pattern with New York judges in this as well, including my own judge, that once they get like kind of close to retirement and you have no accountability in New York State, I'm just going to do whatever the F I want. So I'm just going to incarcerate people and just out the door. So I've seen that a little bit as a pattern with Judge Anthony McGinty. He's about ready to retire. He does the same thing. He goes around and just orders contempts and incarceration, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sure that there's things that James Kelly will do once he gets out. And this is like, this is like Christmas too. Like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Okay, you're pissed off, Judge. All right, you're mad. All right, you're really, really mad. So you put him in jail for like a week, 30 days through Christmas, and not,
Right. Or just make him leave the courtroom. Say, okay.
Make him leave the courtroom. Like, he just went off. This judge just went off on this tirade and ordered him 30 days, order him, 7 or a day. Like, okay, you're disrespecting my courtroom. You're disrespecting me, which is a clear constitutional right. In so many different ways. Right to the media, ADA rights were violated, Second Amendment,
yeah,
freedom of speech. Like, let's just go down the list. Okay, you're mad, Judge. You're really, really mad. Order them a day or 3 days or 7, but like to just incarcerate for 30 days, no bail through Christmas, through the holidays, because he didn't come up there with being a tyrant, and like threaten the judge in any way whatsoever.
No, I heard he was polite the whole way.
I talked to Tracy, who's the I believe the defendant in this case with the child custody hearing, and she has her own podcast. You can look it up on, or she's on TikTok. We'll put the links in the comments. And she said that James was very polite and was respectful and was trying to put the camera away, and the judge was like, was come across very aggressive, very sarcastic. She was telling me with this, at her case, and was retaliatory against her after, because that was her ADA advocate, I believe, in this case. And I can be corrected in the comments, but I believe the judge initially like denied this ADA advocate and had to have him as her representation as a paralegal, because he denied the ADA advocate. So these judges in New York don't like ADA advocates, and this is common. This is common in New York. With Judge McGinty, he's known, and Judge Graf, Janet McFarland are known to be weaponizing against ADA litigants and DV litigants as well. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre behavior that has no accountability from the top down.
Yeah, I just feel so bad for James Kelly and his family. This is just ultimate cruelty to do this, even on a good day, whether the holidays are involved or not. But,
Yeah,
holidays are involved, and this makes it even twice as worse.
it's excessive. It's
Yes.
retaliatory. It's uncalled for. It's unnecessary. What's the point? Why are you swinging at a hornet's nest? Like,
Mhm.
what are you trying to prove? What is this? Not judge, but this politician, Judge Graf. What are you trying to prove? What point are you trying to make? That you're an asshole. Excuse my
Yeah.
French, but what's
Well, it
the
is what it
point?
is. Yeah.
What message are you trying to send? You had a bad day, and it's just like, this is the problem in New York State and many other states, is that there's just judges can do whatever you want. And I said on this podcast last time, I almost predicted this, is that I said on your last podcast that a judge in New York State can literally order to mow his lawn, and if you don't, he can throw you in jail for contempt for 30 days. This is not far off from that.
Right.
It's really not.
Yeah, something has got to be done with these people. And as you said, if you report them to a misconduct board in New York State, they don't do
Yes,
anything about
yes.
it.
No, no. And those complaints you submit to the Board of Judicial Review, the Center for Judicial Review in New York State, those complaints are sealed through the commission. So, obviously, I'm hoping that James Kelly will make a complaint, but it's sealed. I did an article, I did an editorial about how the CJC is what we call it in New York, only responds to less than 1% of complaints in New York State. Less than 1%. And we don't even know what those complaints are. And the CJC can say, oh, well, all this is frivolous. I mean, statistically speaking, do you think 99% of complaints against judges are all frivolous? And they get paid. I think
And then
I think they
some.
get $6 million, this organization, for judicial oversight.
Ah,
That's crazy. That you get paid $6 million a year for taxpayer dollars to review, these complaints. And all you have to do is send out 99% of them. You just send out a little letter. I mean, it's all standardized,
well, then,
like paying.
what about the waste of taxpayer dollars to incarcerate James Kelly?
That's going down the line. I don't know if it's a thing where New York State is losing so many inmates, and the money for that that they have to, they've shut down a couple jails this year, last year's, on state budgets.
Huh.
It's all being cut, the funding. I don't know if this is a way for New York State to make money off inmates. Like, I don't get it. I don't get, like, why you're putting ADA advocates in jail for 30 days with no bail. Like, it's, what's the point of that? What is the point?
Power and control. Obviously, this judge has an issue involving power and control. Maybe he had an issue when he was in grade school with a bully, and maybe that's affecting him in the courtroom. I've heard of, things like this. I've heard of a judge with mommy issues, and so she rules against mothers. I'm like, I've heard all sorts of things. Um, even the Jim Cisco case where that judge had an issue and he ruled kind of disturbing on his case as well.
It's bizarre behavior to me that these judges, this one, McGrath, um, McGinty, McFarland, what's what is it about, advocating for abusers in New York State? Like with my case, who my ex who's, a registered sex offender running a brothel out of his
Yes.
out of
Yeah.
the children's home. And it's just like, no, we're gonna put the mom in jail with no history of
Mhm.
anything, mental health history, no, he's a convicted sex offender, and just giving all these rights,
And
where
your
where
children.
why?
Yeah. I mean,
What is wrong with you guys?
yeah. And to let him expose children to that atmosphere.
Yes.
Uh,
And in the same case, with this last hearing, I don't think it went well for the DVADA mother.
no.
Didn't get any, I don't think, additional parenting time because he was pissed off that the ADA advocate actually exercised his Second Amendment right, to record in the courtroom. And the ADA, American Disabilities Act, right to try and protect, the client. It's just so, the behavior is just so bizarre, so
Mhm.
unnecessary, that it's just like, what are you guys doing?
Mhm.
Like advocacies and whistleblowers aren't gonna like talk about this and talk about you, like putting ADA advocates in jail without a hearing, without representation, just because you're you're mad that day. Like, where's accountability? Where's the judicial accountability? It's just gotten so out of control in New York.
Well, I was looking up this judge's age, and his birthday is February 13th, 1958. Um, Alfred Graf, Suffolk County.
Yes.
So he's 64. So he's still a youngin'.
Yeah, so 64, 65. It's been kind of the trend, with judges, as I said, almost to retire, blow, I don't know, maybe, you know, they have a lot of resentment with their job. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why such the bizarre, unnecessary behavior with these New York judges. Like, it's so excessive and it's so frequent. This isn't the first time this has happened, and this has gone public within the last month. There's a woman also imprisoned. I have my own issues with a very public judge that's known to be a huge tyrant, just putting women in jail just because he feels like it, and oh, well, so it's just,
Well,
like I said, it's just bizarre.
well, another one in my book is Jim Schock, who was also in my book along with you and James. And his judge is Marianne Scattaratico-Naber. And he should have had custody of his son yesterday. But,
Yeah.
the judge chose to place him with the mother who's living with an 8-count felon. I just don't know why.
Yes. It's the same thing with my case. He's a rapist, convicted rapist of minors. It's very clear on the record sideways to Sunday that he's
Mhm.
running a BDSM brothel. They put the children on the BDSM site, and
Ah,
it's clear as day, and it's just, well, we're gonna put the mom in prison for speaking out against it, just and everybody, including the CJC, all the powers that be, just completely ignore all of this and hoping that will just go away.
ah, that's just
I
and
guess.
it's, the Center for what Judicial Conduct only
Yes.
hears less than 1% or only
Yes.
entertains less than 1% of people's complaints. That's really bad.
Only entertains, only investigates less than 1%. So 99% of the time,
Yeah.
and I've seen this, quite often, since it's such a high statistic, it's the same standardized letter. So the New York CJC is getting paid $6 million to send out, I think they had 2,700 complaints, something like that, in 2022. So they're getting paid $6 million to send out 2,500 letters. I mean, I don't know. I think I could cut that budget down if I were to send
Right.
standardized letters. I
Right.
don't know if it. I think I can maybe do it for 2 million. If you want to, taxpayers give me $2 million to
Yeah.
send out standardized letters, 2,500 standardized letters. I'll be happy to do that for you for two
Mhm.
million dollars. No problem. Yeah, I got a big office in Manhattan that, I got that expense, and I have 40 employees that need to uh send out
Oh,
2,500
yeah.
standardized letters. So yeah, I mean, I could do it for 2 million, okay?
This is
Like,
just
taxpayers give me $2 million instead of six, and I'll cut that budget $4 million for you, you
it's
know?
it's just pathetic because I'm sure people are writing in with, how the judge behaved, how they were treated by the judge. Not
Mhm.
necessarily the judge's rulings. They want to know more. I was always told they want to know more about the judge's behaviors, um, I don't know what, just start naming off their behaviors and submit the complaint.
And it's like the medical profession too. I'm sure that the CJC doesn't broadcast where to send a complaint. So these 2,500 complaints are probably like legitimate people who sought it out and wrote and took the time to write it, and like, probably have some trauma there to take the time to
Oh
write a
yes.
complaint. I mean, it's not like, you know oh, don't like the way I drive, send a complaint here. Like, no, like, they keep that on lockdown. You have to go out and look to where even to fill out a complaint, because they don't want to deal with it, and all these complaints are sealed. So I'm sure
Ugh.
it's, way more than 2,500 people a year in New York State. And that's a very small percentage compared to the population,
So what
so it's probably.
so what are they hiding? I mean, they're sealing everything. What, they must be hiding
Yeah.
something.
Yep, they're sealing everything. I haven't been able to get a copy of these complaints yet. I've been kind of trying to do that, but it's roadblocks, from what I understand, everywhere you go, with these complaints. And I'm just trying to look at, you know these legitimate, and they keep it sealed because they don't want us to band together, right? They don't want to make it easy for us, like, oh, you had that judge, oh, that was the same behavior, oh, that happened to me too. That's why they're sealed, because they don't want, we the people to band
Yeah.
together and expose them. This judge did this incarceration order, because he doesn't want James Kelly to, I mean, expose him, right? Judge Graf, like, you put him in jail for 30 days because, um I mean, what are you hiding that you're so afraid of that he can't record for an ADA advocate? He can't exercise his constitutional rights. Why the retaliation? And it's because they don't want to be exposed.
Mhm.
That's
No,
my conclusion.
yeah, I think you're right about that. They do not want to be exposed, so they are going to be, I guess, jailing a lot of people.
And they are. And
Yeah.
it's happening in other states too, and we're trying to band together, people affected by these judges, including myself, because like if you think that if you think throwing one of us in jail for 30 days is like gonna send the message, like we're gonna send the message like right back at you.
Right.
So just just FYI, I don't know why
Mhm.
the judges in New York State are really, randomly putting people in jail. It just seems like too much of a little bit of a coincidence that this has happened 3 times within the last month in New York State, and several times this year, including myself, for speaking out. And I'm sure that when James gets out, we're going to try a few things to try and get out, because it is illegal. It is
Mhm.
unlawful to put someone in prison. Violates so many federal laws without a representation, without a hearing, without an arraignment. It's you can't just start throwing people off the street in jail without any hearings or representation or anything, because you're having a bad day or whatever your reason is,
Mhm.
whatever your childhood reason
Yeah.
trauma is that day. You can't do that. So there's a couple things that we're going to try,
Uh-huh.
and just for people that in New York that are listening, that are interested, James Kelly was incarcerated on contempt for 22 CRR NY 604.2. So it's basically a summary contempt power. And you could go on Westlaw and look that up. I don't know if you can pull this up. Quick shout out to Roman, but the exercise of summary contempt power. So this is why he was put in jail for 30 days, according to the judge. The power of the court to punish contempt committed in its immediate view and presence shall be exercised only in exceptional and necessary circumstances as follows. Where
Mhm.
the contact with either disrupts or threatens to disrupt proceedings actually in progress. Is recording disruptive?
Mm-mm.
Bit of a stretch for 30 days of
Yeah.
incarceration. Again, like send a message, put them in jail for a day, okay? 2 days, which is still a massive violation of so many constitutional rights. But like he, according to the litigant, the defendant of this hearing, James wasn't disruptive. It was the judge who's
Mhm.
kept be disrupting, saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Put it away! Put it away!" It's just like, okay, maybe just like say, okay, well, you need to leave. How about
Yeah.
that solution?
Mhm.
How about that? How about taking his phone away? How about that? Oh, personal property. Okay, ask him to leave. Adjournment.
Mhm.
Even like a day. Or just give him a ticket.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, like so you could do civil disobedience. Probably. I mean, I'm not a judge. I don't go after litigants because I got a hair up my ass. But something like
Yeah.
that. So anything. So I don't.
Mhm.
He, according to the litigant, the judge was the one being disruptive
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
recording. Because it's such a violation of so many rights. Okay, B. destroys or undermines or tends to seriously destroy or undermine the dignity and authority of the court in a manner to the extent that appears unlikely that the court will be able to conduct its normal business in an appropriate way. Okay, so again, what's appropriate? Not allowed to, record my hearing? What are you hiding? Like, what?
Uh,
I don't think James Kelly in any capacity was trying to destroy anything. He was trying to protect his ADA advocate against her abuser.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't trying to destroy
Nothing.
anything. I understand where James Kelly was polite.
Mm-hmm. Wake
The
up,
court reason
taxpayers.
the court reasonably believes that a prompt summary adjudication or contempt may aid in maintaining or restoring and maintaining proper order and decorum.
Reason.
So again, adjourn, kick them out, and adjourn the hearing.
Uh-huh. It says the court reasonably believes. That's not even reasonable to put someone in jail for 30 days at taxpayers' expense.
No, it's not reasonable to even put them in jail for 1 day. There was
Right.
other solutions that this judge could have done, or disorderly conduct ticket, kicking him out, adjourning threatening, say, if you don't put your camera away, you will be held in contempt. It wasn't like that from what I understand with Down. He just said, oh, I'm putting you in jail for 30 days. 30 days, bam, just like that.
Yeah.
no no accountability whatsoever. No, you can't even have an arraignment. You can't even get out. He's James Kelly is clearly not a threat
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
to anybody for recording, advocacy for ADA. Like, it's so wrong on so many levels. And this should just really worry New Yorkers and other people across the country, that if you go into, I don't want to scare people, but you could just go into a hearing, and if he doesn't like the way you're dressed, or that you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to have any transparency of your constitutional rights, you get to go to jail for
Yeah.
30 days without jail.
Or if
You
you,
have less rights than a
right,
rapist.
right. Or if you remind him of some girl that dumped him before prom, you're really in big trouble.
Yeah, you're in big trouble.
Yeah. The thing is, I mean, all of this has got to just stop. This is craziness. It's not safe to walk into any courtroom, in my opinion, anywhere.
I I agree with that. And I don't want to talk about myself and my case too much, but like, that's exactly how I view it, is that these tyrant judges can do whatever they want, and choose, including McGinty, including this one. And, if they don't like the hair color,
Mhm.
that day, or your outfit, they can say your outfit's disruptive and put you in 30 days jail. I mean, they do it all the time in New York. This is the abuse of power,
Right.
and nobody is doing anything about it.
And,
Nobody.
and people have to understand that when you are placed in jail or prison, they don't give you your prescribed medications, which is a human rights violation. And if you need these medications, could be heart medications, could be whatever, you're not going to get them. Just so people know
No.
that.
Yeah. Let alone take you away from your friends and family for the holidays because you feel like it,
Yeah.
and there's no accountability. It's scary. New York is turning into North Korea. Like,
Oh, yeah,
I hate to get
right,
political,
right.
but it's like, just like, you show up in a courtroom, I don't like you today. You're going to jail, and there's nothing you can do about it. I
Hmm.
really hope that we can rally for James Kelly, and I hope there's some sort of accountability, even if it's just um, this media and this outcry. But you can send Marianne, you can send a letter to this judge if you want to
Mhm.
give out that information real quick, or I have it here.
Yeah, it was on Facebook to please support James Kelly, his release for being jailed for requesting disability accommodation in Suffolk Family Court by calling Judge Graf at 631-740-3623 and writing to Court District Executive Warren G. Clark at ADA Suffolk at nycourts.gov. I'll put that in the podcast notes.
Yes, please.
Is there
So
anything?
I hope,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I hope your viewers will take the time to send a quick email. You can reach out to me. I'm Alisha Clark, Alisha Clark on Facebook, and I'll be happy to draft it for you. But I really hope that, we the people can send a message to this judge and flood his inbox. I know I'm going to be personally writing a nice little love letter to Judge Graf
Mhm.
this week, if not
Uh,
this weekend.
and I'll probably send the podcast to this Warren G. Clark fellow.
Yes, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I hope that we the people can stand up to some judicial tyrant in Suffolk County, which that county has a lot of problems
Mhm.
with accountability,
Yeah.
along many others, that district.
Mm.
So it's really it's not unusual to hear something like this coming out of that county, but I hope we the people can send an email, or I would say, if you can send just a quick email, again, to Warren G. Clark um at Suffolk County, and hopefully you can put the link in the
Mm.
podcast
Will
notes
do.
below, and hopefully we the people can send a message to this judge. You can't just incarcerate advocates because you had too much to drink the night before, or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure. I mean, it's excessive.
Mhm.
um it's uncalled for,
It's
it's
bullying.
unlawful,
Mhm.
it's bullying. Yeah. New Yorkers, you don't live in North Korea. You live in New York. The Statue of Liberty is here.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of the most out of control states in the country, for imprisonment.
Mhm.
And um, I'm calling to our legislators to do something about this. Have some sort of accountability for these people that just throws people in jail because they feel like it that day,
Mhm.
against all federal constitutional rights, so many different ways of violating our United States Constitution, so many different ways.
Mhm. Mhm.
You can just run on forever. So I hope James will file a court of claims, and we'll try to hopefully put some political pressure on this judge to hopefully have him released. It's
Mhm.
excessive, it's unnecessary, and I know I will be doing my part to try
Mhm.
and advocate for a political prisoner.
Oh, definitely. Well, don't jump off. So much for liberty and justice for all. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I am your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice Poems of Truth, and Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. Please join us again here with Alisha Clark in the future, Clark Walker, I'm sorry, and other exciting guests. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, and please donate to buy me a coffee to keep this podcast going. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on today on this special podcast.
I'm honored. Thank you, Alicia.